The Cheating Death Podcast is a comedy, random, and truth-seeking podcast containing information, subject matter, language, and course material that may not be suitable for all listeners. Your discretion in this matter is advised. If you have any questions or concerns, leave us a comment at thecheatingdeathpodcast@gmail.com. On today's episode of the Cheating Death Podcast, we discuss Operation Gold, a PSYOP, and an illicit campaign that was put in place jointly by the British and American services. We get into a top 5 favorite milkshake list and an all-new Annihilation Announcement. So, put your feet up, grab your coffee, and warm up in a blanket. It's time for us to tell you how to cheat death. This is your news anchor, the Cleric of Chaos, and this is your Annihilation Announcement. Across the land post-World War II, there were still a lot of illicit and borderline illegal operations that would have been categorized as crimes by not only the International Police or Interpol, although the Nuremberg trials had concluded there was still a litany of people in power and whom were participating in absolutely putrid endeavors. Operation Gold is all but a mere drop in the ocean when it comes to illicit campaigns. We, as a species, must be more transparent and open. National security is all but an excuse. We must move forward and be better to each other. This has been your news anchor, the Cleric of Chaos, and this was your Annihilation Announcement. Willkommen, meine Freunde. Guten Morgen, guten Tag, eine gute Nacht. Ist deine Reisende, deine Ausländer, deine Allesfresser, deine Cleric of Chaos. What do the British Secret Service, the MI6, and the Central Intelligence Agency have in common in the 1950s? Turns out quite a bit. But one of the things we're going to be discussing today is going to be Operation Gold, a super, ultra, high-profile secret campaign conducted jointly by the American Central Intelligence Agency and the British Secret Service, being that of the MI6. What was Operation Gold? Operation Gold was an, as it says, operation in the 1950s, post-World War II, that was designed by both the United States and the United Kingdom as a way to keep Soviet authorities in check during the beginning of the escalation of the Cold War. Throughout the 1950s, in the Soviet Union, most specifically throughout the entire run of the war at Moscow and St. Petersburg, there were a litany of individuals in whom were contracted by both the Central Intelligence Agency and the British Secret Service to install and to ensure that interferent devices, wiretapping communication protocol, and the devices in order to usurp communications from various points throughout the Soviet Union, many in Moscow and St. Petersburg alone, were received then by British MI6 and by the American CIA. Why were these wiretaps completed? What was the purpose? Well, if you ask any member in whom is still a surviving member of the MI6 or CIA, to which there are few and far between, you will be provided with the explanation that it was done in the name of national security on the part of each country. The United Kingdom needed to be kept safe, and the United States of America needed to be kept safe. After all, this was post-World War II. This is the end of the establishment of the Nazi Socialist Party. And the fact that they had been brought to a bitter end, the United States and the United Kingdom had decided that through any means necessary, this would never transpire again. So after the demise of the Nationalist Socialist Party and the Nazi Socialist Party, respectively, identically both the same parties, just colloquially with different names, there became a new beast of burden for those in Washington and for those in London. There became a new warrior to fight. A new adversary has entered the arena. What is this man? What is this land? Was the question that the CIA and the MI6 were asking themselves when Wilhelm Pieck was elected to the presidency of East Germany. Throughout this time, post-1949, when the establishment and the division of East and West Germany were identified, very few times were West Germany ever infiltrated, surveyed, and looked at with such a fine-tooth comb as what East Germany had to face from 1950 all the way through to 1989 upon the collapse of the Soviet Union. Now, what were the reasons for this espionage? What were the reasons for this surveillance and for this very, very sneaky, stealthy type of maneuvering and missions? Simple. Control. It wasn't enough that the treaty had so many caveats to it that made life even more arduous for the German people on both the West and the Eastern fronts, but also understanding that the Nuremberg trials did nothing more than put people on a proverbial podium of pitching rotten fruit at them, utilizing words. The war crimes that were committed by those of the National Socialist Party and the surviving members of the SS were, in some way, shapes, and forms, held to task. But you also take into account the hypocrisy of the Nuremberg trials in the sense that the Nuremberg trials were a public spectacle of pomp and circumstance, because when you take into consideration the transfer of scientific personnel from Germany at the time all the way through to the United States to assist NASA in the space race against the Soviet Union, dozens of those men were SS members, Nazi sympathizers, evil, pure, unadulterated, hateful men who were given a pass all because they had a certain IQ level and a certain capability to assist a certain country with some certain nuclear capabilities. But does that justify anything that took place within the parameters and confines of Operation Gold when they were surveying normal, everyday people, putting people in jails indefinitely, treating it as a 1950s version of Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, but for much less egregious acts? No. The circumstances never met the threshold to provide that kind of security. There was not a need to provide that kind of security. The amount of information that was created out of thin air by the MI6 and by the CIA in order to justify Operation Gold goes far beyond what can be provided within the rather humble amount of time that we have with this program. But understand this. Think about how the NSA surveys, spies on, looks at every single thing that the citizens of the United States of America do, and look at it from the perspective of a completely war-torn, ravaged family. Somebody who's already been through enough, somebody who had absolutely nothing to do with anything that went on pre- or post-World War II, and they're tired. They're hardworking citizens. They own a bakery. They contribute and pay taxes. They donate to local causes. And yet, even these people were still subject to the utmost scrutiny, the utmost criticism, and the utmost questioning in dire times. So when Operation Gold was put into place and was implemented throughout the 1950s, very few people had an idea as to exactly how malevolent the campaign was. For more information on Operation Gold, you may visit the British Secret Service's declassified archive. And you may also visit the archive or the Internet Archive under the CIA section. There are a lot of declassified documents that are on multiple different publicated websites and have also been given the debunking, and that you can go and check them out. Operation Gold is an absolutely outstanding example of what one can do when enough people's backs are turned. What is your feedback on this particular debacle of a service, this miserable mission, email us at thecheatingdeathpodcast@gmail.com. At the top of the program, we promised you a list of our top 5 favorite milkshakes, so let's dive right into the sweetness. Coming in at number 5, we have caramel. Coming in at number 4, we have hot fudge. Coming in at number 3, we have strawberry. Coming in at number 2, we have chocolate. And coming in at number 1, we have raspberry/triple berry. What are your top 5 favorite milkshakes? Email us at thecheatingdeathpodcast@gmail.com. Today's joke has been brought to you by the Cleric of Chaos. Oftentimes, we're told that we need to give our elderly citizens a break when they're a bit rude to people. One would argue that even those in whom are still alive after performing acts in Operation Gold have a right to be bitter. That's not true, man. Just because you participated in Operation Gold don't mean your bitch ass have the right to be Operation Cold. Whether it be the American counterpart or the British section of the Allied forces in the 1940s, even after World War II, there was a litany of scandal, debauchery, and chaos that took place across Europe. Operation Gold is merely an extension of Operation Silver, and ultimately understood that even in this time, it was still an absolutely atrocious way to go about surveying your enemy. What are your thoughts on Operation Gold? Send us a message at thecheatingdeathpodcast@gmail.com. The Cheating Death Podcast has been brought to you by Nach dem Leben CRDVC, Chaos Realm Records, CR Deutschland, and where all major podcasts are found. If you'd like to support the program, you may do so at the links in the episode's description. And if you'd like to support our friends and follow our consultants and producers, you may also do so at the links in the episode's description. If you have any questions or feedback, you can email us at thecheatingdeathpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us at twitter.com/weallcheatdeath and twitter.com/cleric of chaos. If you or anyone you know is experiencing psychiatric duress, or you are experiencing an episode yourself, please call 1-800-273-8255 or dial 988 from your mobile phone in the US or Canada. If you or anyone you know are experiencing domestic violence, have them call 1-800-799-7233. If you're looking at adopting a playful puppy or cute kitten, please visit your local animal adoption rescue center. And life is hard. Continue to fight. We're pulling for you. We're all in this together.